CASSIUS for IFL TV in association with MTK Global. We're in the headquarters of Mr. Frank Warren, joined by Frank Warren himself. How you doing?
I'm doing good, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm all good. All good. Good little win yesterday, so.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Still leaky at the back, though, isn't it? You know, we were let off the hook, I think, a couple of times. Anyway.
Think
positive.
Think positive, indeed. The first thing I want to talk to you about, obviously, the announcement that you made, last week, that Carl Frampton had come over to BoxNation. And I spoke to Carl Frampton probably a few days before, and he said that the promoter decision he was still weighing up. He probably already knew then, but hadn't disclosed then. And I'm going to quote what Carl Frampton said in my interview with him at the press conference the other day. He said that it came down to the big dogs, Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn, and the old man won. That's what Carl Frampton said.
Life in the old dog yet?
But that's brilliant for BoxNation, for BT Sport, and for your stable that Carl's come over.
I mean, we're very delighted. Carl's one of the most colourful fighters and one of the better-known British boxers on the world scene, Irish boxer on the world scene, and we're absolutely delighted that he's on board. We've got a great show on the 18th of November. Here beyond there, he's as you know, changed trainers. He's now with Jamie Moore, and I think he's going to bed down with him. So he'll probably have a 10-rounder, or he will have a 10-rounder on that show, and hopefully set himself up for some big title fights next year. 2 world title fights on there. We've got Jamie Conlon, we delivered for him. He's fighting Jerwin and CASSIUS from the Philippines. Tough fight, but Jamie's a real competitor. He's a tough guy. He's got the world title shot in his own backyard. I'm sure his fans are going to be out in force and cheering him on. And he's not going to be for wanting in any way. He's going to be out there doing what he can to get that world title, the IBF one. And then we've got Zoloni Teti, also defending his WBO bantamweight title on the card. We tried desperately to make the match with him and Ryan Burnett in Belfast, but we even offered to pay Burnett's purse and let Hearn promote it, but it didn't happen. So we're taking him to Belfast so the Irish fans can actually see him and see why everybody avoids him, including Ryan Burnett.
Just going back to obviously Jamie Conlon, we've seen Jamie Conlon in some absolutely enthralling battles where he looks like he was a beaten man in some of them fights. He's come back and really one of those fighters that you can't keep your eyes off. But he was kind of due a world title shot, and he's got one. But he's a very tough fighter, Joe. And we saw him on the undercard of Pacquiao and Horn, and he was impressive then. So this is going to be a tough ask to Jamie.
It's not going to be easy. Yeah. I mean, it's not going to be easy at all. In fact, Jamie may be underdog going into that fight. But as I say, he's going to give his all. You know that for a fact, and hopefully he comes through and gets the title. And as I say, then it sets up, sets him up for next year. But that's happening. Carl on the bill, Carl, a big ticket seller there. A well-respected fighter worldwide. He won the Boxer of the Year award, didn't he, from Ring Magazine? Was it last year? So it's fantastic, and he's with us. And I think he's made the right choice. And we've got a good situation going with Josh Warrington, who's fighting in Leeds. So who knows down the road, those two guys, you can see them fighting each other. Where's Selby? Selby, come and get on board with us. Have a word with your management. Come and get in there. We can make a great triumphant of fights between them. We can do that now. Let's do it. So we'd like him to come on board and see what we can do with him if they're up for it. That's if they're up for a real fight. We're forcing the issue with the show that we're putting on Leeds. I mean, we've gone out there and we got Dennis Chellan for that IBF title fight, for Josh. It's a final eliminator. Josh comes through, then he's got to fight Josh Warrington. So there's some great fights there to be made amongst all the Brits and the Irish, and that's what the fans want to see. They want to see those fights, and that's what we want to do. We want to deliver them. And it's not the end of the world for the loser. We've done it years ago with various divisions with fighters. With, for example, Steve Robinson. He fought everybody that there was to fight. Nassim Hamid, Paul Hodgkinson, all of them, all good fights. Colin McMillan, all good fights. That's what we want to do with this division. Find out who's the best, and they will be great fight nights for the fans. That's what the fans deserve.
The other champions at that weight, Leo Santa Cruz, Gary Russell Jr. and also Oscar Valdez, are they possibilities? I mean, we've heard Carl Frampton openly say on numerous occasions that he wants that third Leo Santa Cruz fight. Is that something you've discussed?
Well, of course he does.
Yeah.
That's one of the things he said to us. Let's try and make it. And, we're going to try and make it. We're going to try and make all those fights. Why wouldn't we make them? He's a quality fighter. Josh Warrington, they're quality fighters. They're world-class fighters. Carl's been there and done it, and there's much more in the tank for him to do. And he's got much more left in there for him to do. And I know that he can come through, and I'm quite sure he can win another version of the world title. Set up some great unification matches if some of the other British guys win title fights.
Obviously, with Carl Frampton, he his whole career he was obviously promoted by Barry and trained by Shane. It's all changed for him now with, like you said, Jamie Moore, and obviously linking up with MTK yourselves. So you believe that all this change is going to obviously benefit Carl moving forward?
Well, the only one who's going to know that is Carl. We're good at what we do. We know that. We make sure things happen for fighters, and that's what we'll do. We'll deliver for him, and hopefully he'll do the business in the ring. I'm quite sure he will do it. There's a reason that he wants to change, so he's made a decision to change where he's going, where he was. So he's with us now, and it's our job to make sure all things happen. BoxNation and specifically BT are behind him. They're behind Josh. They're behind all the fighters. The game has changed, as I said to you before. We've sort of been bedding down for the last few months with BT. I think in the new year we're going to see some significant things happening on the boxing front. Some really exciting things that'll be great for the boxers, be great for us as promoters, and more importantly, be great for the fans, because we're going to hopefully get, and I believe we will get better quality fights. We've got all these great youngsters coming through.
Does it give you a little bit of satisfaction that when a fighter has the option between you and Matchroom, they pick you? Does that give you any sort of satisfaction? Or?
Well, it does. I mean, it's not the first time, is it? Josh did the same thing. Josh Warrington did the same thing. Look, I've been in this business long enough to see fighters go from one side of the street to the other side of the street. So that's happened since boxing's began. It's nothing unusual, and it's cyclical. Everything with boxing keeps going round. The world keeps going round. You have that bit of bad luck. You have a bit of good luck. Those things happen. We just celebrated our 6th birthday for BoxNation. 6 years, weekend just gone. And I think that's a bit of a landmark and shows you where we're at and what we've done in 6 years. Starting from absolutely zero, starting from scratch, with not one viewer, no Sky behind us, no ITVs, no nothing. We started from scratch, and our pure determination, our will to make things happen. Late Bill Eyes, who was my partner in the promotions, who unfortunately passed away, was instrumental in financing and helping BoxNation along with our side of it. All those things were great for us, been great, I believe, for British boxing. But look where we've got to. But now we can focus, where we were spending probably 80% of our time focusing on keeping BoxNation going, we can now focus 90% of our time on promoting, on guiding the careers of fighters. And look at the fighters we've brought through on BoxNation during that period of time, and the amount of world title fights we've made. But now it's a game changer. We've got BT on board with us, so we can only go from strength to strength now. And we are going from strength to strength. And fighters who've been around the block, who've got a brain, they can see what's happening, and that's why they're coming with us, because we deliver. We do deliver, and that is what for me is what it's all about.
Obviously, 6 years ago, I remember the first press conference you had at the O2 with whoever was there at the time at your stable, and there were specific people that said that this wouldn't last. And obviously, 6 years on, you are where you are. But the influence of BT, who came in at the sort of April this year for their first show, without them, where do you think BoxNation would have been now? Well,
I think we'd be in a better place, because, as you know, the last pay-per-view that was done by BoxNation, which was the big fight from the States, the Canelo and Triple G fight. That was available to Sky subscribers. They could red button it, or press the button, as I showed, the buy button. We never had that until now. So that's another game changer. That's happened. And it took us a long time to get there from that. We had a bit of bad luck with Tyson Fury, with his problems and pulling out fights. But we finally got there, and we've done our first one. So we did that without the help of anybody else. We've been fighting for that, to get that right to do it. So we've got that anyway. So where would we be? I think we would be obviously in a much, much, much better position than we were back then. But the fact of the matter is, I don't even want to think where we might have been. I know where we are and where we're going, which is the most important thing. We are where we are now. We're on solid foundations. Where we're going for bigger and better things. There is a pay-per-view platform being built for next year, which will deliver massive fights, massive opportunities for British boxers. It'll have a far bigger reach than anybody else, and a direct reach, and the way you watch and view fights. We've always been innovative. I said that to you for many times. Pay-per-view, first pay-per-views in this country, which enabled, remember, pay-per-view, fans don't want to pay money for fights. The reason you do pay-per-view fights is to ensure that you can make the fights happen, with the demands of what fighters expect to get paid for fights, and they become pay-per-view fighters, as they do in America, to get the fights here. So we built that platform, done the very first shows on Sky TV, did that. Going back before then, did the very first fights coming into cinemas, satellite broadcast, taking them into the Odeons in Leicester Squares and around the country. We did all those. We was involved in those. What's happening next year is going to be innovative. It's how you watch fights, how you order the fights. Totally different. And I'm very excited about that. And that's, for me, is the way forward. In some ways, I like to think, Bob Arum is in the States. Bob Arum's 86 years of age. And you look, he's always innovative. He's always moved with technology, with the market. He developed the Hispanic market. We're doing the same over here. I think in a big way with the way we're going with our Asian fighters. We've got some really good youngsters that we're focusing on, because I think there's a tremendous market there. There's great talent there, and we want to be the forefront of delivering in that. But all these things all coming together with BT, with the huge fights on pay-per-view, with BoxNation. It couldn't be a better time. So I'm hoping next year, and I believe next year is going to be a massive year for us. We're not sort of going out on a whimper anyway at the end of this year. We've got some good fights. We're going to hopefully get Billy Joe's fight over the line in the next day or so, and hopefully be announcing something there for him in December. We've got these great shows coming up. We've got as you mentioned, the lead show. There's 5 title fights on there. Great fight, Tyrone Nurse and Jack Catterall. Big test for Jack. Tyrone's going to step up to the plate for that one. So you've got a fantastic fight. And they've got Zelfa Barrett fighting Chris Connell. We've got the 11th of November up in Newcastle. Again, 5 title fights on there. There's some really good fights on that card, and I'm looking forward to it. We've got a couple of charity shows that we regularly do. One for Deborah, one for Nordorf Robbins. And then we've got that great shows we've been talking about in Belfast. So that's where we are. So that's not bad, is it? I mean, it's good for the fans. They're going to see some good fights. And I like to believe we've been able to ramp up certainly the undercard fights. I mean, we've been getting some great fights on the undercard, great value for money boxing, because that's what it's all about. We're about the fans. It's about delivering for the fans. And as I say, I think we're going from strength to strength for that. And that's, when I look at what our foundation is that, then you look at what we're building on that foundation with Anthony Yard, Daniel Dubois, like I mentioned before, Zelfa Barrett's, the Leon Woodstocks, all those guys, all those youngsters coming through. There's some fantastic young kids there that I think are going to go from strength to strength. And I've missed quite a few of them out. I don't want to be driving one round, reading a big roster off, but there's some really good young talent there that are looking good, and I think are going to be the future of British boxing. And amongst them are some definite, in my opinion, some definite world champions.
I want to talk about pay-per-view. Obviously, I'm not asking you to give us a number, but indication or early indication from the Canelo Golovkin, or for you, good?
Very good. Yeah, everybody's happy with it. We've achieved all our targets. Everybody's happy with it.
Now, over the last sort of few weeks, we've been kind of swamped from all angles with this pay-per-view thing, and obviously we've got the Joshua one coming up next month. We've had the one that you've recently done. We're going to have the ITV ones, including this World Series of Boxing. We had the YouTube pay-per-view with Hughie Fury and Parker a week ago. So, too many pay-per-views?
Yeah. And pay-per-view's got to be about fights being pay-per-view fights, or events being pay-per-view. You know, we've done God knows how many pay-per-views over the years, but I can remember doing a pay-per-view up in Liverpool with, I think we put 7 title fights, 7 of our prospects and guys who were just about getting there many years ago. For me, that was value for money. We had to do that. We had to do that because otherwise, in those days, Sky weren't prepared to put up the money to enable us to deliver what we had to do. But there are far too many. And the public have only got a certain amount of money to punter, or public, what you want to call them, have only got a certain amount of money to spend. So they're going to get fussy where they spend their money. And some of those fights are just not pay-per-view. That's a fact of life. And, you know, everybody talks pay-per-view. I mean, I've been talking about it earlier, but you've got to have some pay-per-view. Otherwise, you cannot put on the events that the fighters want. You can't take them into the big time where they should be getting money. You know, it goes without saying, the fight between Golovkin and Canelo was a pay-per-view fight. You can't say that weren't a pay-per-view fight. It was. There's other fights you mentioned are not pay-per-view fights.
Is Joshua and Pulev that card? Is that pay-per-view?
I don't think so. But then you'd say, well, I would say that, but I don't think so. But, you know, they'll get away with it. But it's not. Do you think it's pay-per-view? I don't think it is. But they'll get away with it.
So we've got Groves Cox coming up. And,
no, that's not pay-per-view.
And also the Eubank Yildirim fight, which I believe both on pay-per-view.
Look, people are buying, or they may not buy them. It's their choice. But if they buy them, and a lot of people buy them, then they're pay-per-view fights. But, you know, can you class them with some of the pay-per-views that have been over the years? I don't think you can. But if people want to buy them, they'll buy them. That's their choice. Pay-per-view is the most honest form of a boxer's worth, because the public either want to see it or they don't. And I've seen shows that I've promoted that I thought were going to be bursters, have not done as well. Then I've seen it put another show on which I didn't think it was going to do so good, and it's done extremely well. But the public will decide. And it's how they're promoted. I mean, like the Bellew David Hay fight, after the fight they were hugging, they were in love. I thought they was going to go on honeymoon together. Now they hate each other again, and you know, and all the commentators were saying how great it was afterwards. They were all shaking hands. You read it now, they're all saying they hate each other. So you know, that's all part of the game and selling it and so forth. And sometimes I suppose you get that in boxing, and sometimes you don't need it. You know, Klitschko, Anthony Joshua wasn't needed, was it? They were quite respectful to each other and done what they had to do.
What about Parker Fury on YouTube pay-per-view?
Well, it weren't pay-per-view. I don't know what's done. I mean, you know, Peter Fury is a good friend, and you know, we promote Yuri. I didn't think it was pay-per-view, but I don't know what the numbers are. I've got no idea what it's done, but I don't think so. And I think the other side of pay-per-view when you're doing these shows is getting the exposure, and it's whether Yuri got the exposure, or you know, and other fights, because you want to be seen. If you start limiting it to pay-per-view, I don't know, say you do 100,000 buys, 150,000 buys, you're not delivering that exposure to the boxers. So it's very subjective as to what it is, and also everybody's got their, you know, the thing about promoters, you put your money up. So at the end of the day, you're taking the risk. This is not like the FA or horse racing. You know, the actual individual promoter is taking the financial risk. So if he feels that's what he's got and that people should pay for it, and that's his judgment, then he rolls the dice and takes the risk. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Have you penciled in for 2018 what you potentially could be pay-per-view fights for you on BoxNation and BT?
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's going to be no saturation. I don't want this every other week. For me, if we do 3, maybe 4 pay-per-views in a year, that'll be it. That'll be the maximum if we do that many. I'm not looking to, because at the end of the day, I want the fighter to be seen. You know, you've got to build it. You've got to get a market. You know, for example, if Billy Joe Saunders was to fight Golovkin, that's a pay-per-view fight because that's the only way it can happen. But you know, at the end of the day, as I say, it's up to the promoter who's putting his money up to decide what he wants to do. You know, and the proof of the pudding is what it actually generates, how much money it generates.
Let's talk about Billy Joe Saunders. Obviously, I understand that an announcement will come in the next week or so, Frank.
Well, I'm hoping it'll be before
Yeah.
that. You know, we're working on something. We're just trying to agree final terms with the boxers, and fingers crossed we get it over the line.
So I'm assuming from what you said in the press conference, you're looking to go back to the Copper Box, possibly around the 9th
of December, we've got it booked, and we're looking to go back there. I just want, you know, we said it, didn't we, after Bill's last fight, we're looking to get him out, but we'll be running a show on the 9th of December. You know, I want to get Daniel out. I want to get Anthony out. I want to get all our young guys out. I want to get, you know, make sure we've got plenty of fights. We've got a lot of things happening. You know, we're close to getting Kokorin in with
Jeff Horn.
Jeff Horn.
I was going to ask you, what is the update about that?
Well, what happens? We were trying to get Bradley in there, Bradley Skeet, and I thought we were that much close to getting a deal done, but they didn't want. They changed their mind. So, you know.
So Jeff Horn didn't want to fight Bradley Skeet, effectively. No.
Otherwise, we'd have signed for it.
No.
So we're fighting. He's fighting Kokorin. That's a tough fight for him. That's a tough fight. He's a competitor, you know. And I've always said about Gary, he'll go anywhere and fight anyone. And he's ranked just below Bradley in the WBO rankings, but he's got a WBO title, so he's won a junior title, so he's in there. And hopefully we can make some announcement on that soon. But he's looking the favourite at the moment.
What will happen with Bradley? Obviously, he must be disappointed not getting that
he's
shot.
Disappointed.
Yeah.
What can you do? You know, I can't force people. We can only get them in a position. As I said to him, you know, to Alan Smith, you know, it's now about getting him into the number 1 spot. You know, we got him in at number 3, so we haven't done a bad job with him, have we? But now we've got to try and get him up and move him up into the number 1 spot.
Well, ideally for you, Corcoran beats Horn and then problem solved.
Well, it's a no-brainer. Well, what he's saying is that, you know, we've got to remember, the only reason that this opportunity is coming about is because of Manny Pacquiao deciding he doesn't want to fight next year. So whoever does fight Horn, the winner of that fight will fight Pacquiao. So it's great day at the races for whoever it is.
I'm assuming 9th of December will be your last show before the end of the year?
It may not be, it depends. Certain things are happening at the moment. We may put one on the following week, but we're not sure yet. We're working on it.
Okay. Or it could go the week before, possibly?
Could go the week before, but probably the week after. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Terry Flanagan.
Well, that's what we're working on. You know,
Right, okay, sorry, I didn't know you. Right.
WBO put Beltran in as being he's been sodded around by Vijay for so long. It's been a pain in the backside, to say the least. And Terry's a great guy, and I believe in Terry, as you know. So he's got Beltran, and we're working on that at the moment, and see where we go with it. But we've got to move very quickly because time's running out, and I want him out before the end of the year.
Did you watch the boxing from the weekend?
No, I didn't, to be quite honest. I didn't.
It's the first time I've ever heard you say you haven't watched the boxing from the weekend.
No, I didn't. I was out, and you know, to be quite honest, I didn't. Very unusual for me, as you know. I haven't even watched any. I think I got it in record, but I've not got round. It was Arsenal yesterday, so I've not got round to it. But I see a couple. See a few of the guys won.
Yeah, Paul Butler in the rematch with Stuart Hall.
Yeah, I heard about what Barry Hearn was saying, and not Barry Hearn. I forget. Terrible. I'm getting senior moments. I forgot his name now. Your mate. What's his name? Yeah, my mate.
James. Eddie Hearn.
That's him. That's the name I was looking for. Fast, Eddie. Yeah. So I heard he was talking about all the options. All I know is we're promoting. We've got Teddy fighting in Belfast, and he's the best one out by head and shoulders above all of them. The guy, none of them want to fight. Exciting fighter.
Why didn't Butler McDonnell happen when Butler was with you?
Why didn't it happen?
Yeah.
Because they wanted too much money.
Right.
I didn't want to pay the money they wanted. And they fought for much less money than, I guarantee they fought for less money than they asked me. And, that is what it is. And good, listen, I like Paul. He's a nice guy. He's a smart little fighter. He's a good little fighter. And good luck to him. I hope he goes on and wins the world title, and he can always have that rematch down the road.
Matchroom also announced Hayes' rematch with Tony Bellew. Your thoughts on that?
Well, what's my thoughts on it? I've not any thoughts on it, but my sort of reaction to your question there is, I know what David Hayes got left in the tank. David Hay, if he was 100%, I've got to fancy him to beat him, but he wasn't. He didn't look like he was 100% last time. the way he was fighting, and by the way, you don't know if he's got what he's got in the tank. I mean, you know, physically, I thought he'd be too much for Tony Belair, but that wasn't to be. So it's all about whether David, you know, what he's got left in him. You know, he's if he's 100%, has he still got the legs? Has he, you know, can he still find what's needed to be? It's a big question mark. It's a big question mark, but it is what it is.
Frank, occurring problem in boxing. We saw Luis Ortiz has failed a drugs test last week.
Well, this drugs thing is just, I mean, it seems that it's regular now, and I think that's because they changed, from what I understand in the States, they've changed how it's done. And there's a different organisation at one stage is now doing it, so that's why I think people are getting called out. You know, over here, UCAD are basically the people over here, and you know, there are guys who get found. But it'd be interesting to see, like, for example, you look at Lucas Brown. He got tested positive, and he's now got his licence back to the box. So how long ago was that?
Not that long ago.
Right, and who was there was another heavyweight that got done, wasn't there?
Shannon Briggs.
Shannon Briggs. And one of the guys further up the rankings. I can't remember all their names, but there's been a few done it. What's happened with Tyson Fury? How on earth are these guys being tested positive? Think about it, tested positive.
Yeah.
After he's been out of the ring for God knows how many months, and they're back in the ring.
2 years now.
2 years. He's been out for 2 years. These guys have been tested positive. Lucas Brown was tested positive for that fight. Was it in what he had in? Was it Chechnya or wherever it was? Got tested positive for that, and he's back in the ring already. And Tyson Fury hasn't even had a hearing yet. Not even had a hearing. Something is dreadfully wrong. Something stinks to high heaven. I don't care what it is. Well, you know what? I don't care what anyone says about it. Something is wrong. That cannot, under any circumstances, be right. You know, why is it different for them than it's different for Tyson Fury? Why is that? I'm in the sport. I don't agree at all with people using performance-enhancing drugs. I don't agree with them. I think they should be banned, and that's it. There's no excuse for it. There isn't any excuse for it. Cheat should be sorted out. If people, you know, and there are fighters who've been found guilty taking what they call so-called recreational drugs, although they're illegal, but they're not performance enhancing, and they've had problems such as Tyson. But the bottom line of all of this is get it over and done with. I mean, if you were an individual, you're the boxer in Tyson's case. You've had all this happen to you, and nothing's moving, nothing's happening. That'd send me into further depression. No wonder he's put all the weight on. No wonder he is Harris. I mean, he must think to himself, what is going on here? It can't be right. Cannot be right under any circumstances. And whether you like him or you don't like him, whether you're a pal of his, whether you're an enemy of his, it cannot be right. It cannot be right.
If you get tested positive more than once is bad enough.
Out.
Yeah, that should be a straight rule for you, yeah?
Finished.
Doesn't know how many chances you give someone. I mean,
I don't think. Look, if you're performance enhanced PEDs, it's cheating. There's no in betweens. You are cheating. I mean, there are a lot of fighters who've taken the stuff, and they could have took 1,000 times the dose that they've taken. They still look crap. We've seen that with a lot of people. Just because you take it, don't mean you're a better fighter, but it's cheating. And if it's banned, then you shouldn't be allowed to take it. End of story. There are situations where there are certain diets that you can go on that can increase substances in your body. Legitimately, that can happen. But the bottom line is, deal with it. Get on with it and deal with it. Tyson Fury's guilty, then find him guilty, ban him if he's being banned. And then what are they going to do? They've got a hearing in January. If he is found guilty, what, are they going to give him a 2-year ban so he can be out of the ring for 4 years?
But surely that wouldn't be the case.
Well, I don't think it should. Well, what happens if they ban him for 6 months? So what happens to the 18 months? That's what I'm saying. How can this be right? It cannot be right. Yeah. Forget about the personalities involved, who's with who and who's working with. How can it be right? That cannot, under any circumstances, be correct. And when I look at these other guys, what they're getting, taking performance-enhancing drugs, like, you know, a couple of fighters we just mentioned, and they're out the ring for a year, or 6 months, or 9 months. Why is he's not even had his case heard? This is Britain. You know, this is Great Britain. We're supposed to have a process here. We're supposed to have a courts that deal with this. Treat you're all innocent till found guilty, but for God's sake, get the case on so we know where he is. And there are people who've been up for murder, who've been tried, and the crap sentences they give out these days are probably out of prison by now. It's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. I really feel strongly about it. I think it's terrible what's happening.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Anything I'll think of. What else?
Oh, sorry. How can we forget this?
Who?
9th of December.
Yes.
Rigondeaux and Lomachenko on BoxNation.
Yeah, good fight, isn't it?
Unbelievable fight.
Yeah. Remember Tetty wanted to fight Rigondeaux? That tells you about him.
Tells you about Jazza Dickens.
He's a super flyweight, and he wanted, didn't he? He wanted to fight him, mate. It tells you about. It's a great fight. I mean, you know, I'm a massive Lomachenko fan. I think he's something else, and Rigondeaux's a great boxer. So that is quality fight.
That's a real.
It's a fight, and you want to watch it. You know what you just said?
And
let me tell you something. Do you know something? That's what BoxNation's been about. Because these fights would never have seen light of day. That's what I believe. I believe that's our contribution to boxing in Britain. You know, the fans have had an opportunity to see these fights. Not taking their trousers down for money. It's not like 25 quid for a pay-per-view. It's 12 quid, and you've got the whole month subscription for that. And I think you're getting great value for money. But you're seeing these great fighters, these fantastic fighters from around the world. You know, BoxNation subscribers, they all see the Golovkin fight and Canelo fight. You know, I'll tell you what, I've got that red suit and that white beard. I should just wear it in December. I should wear that all the time, shouldn't I?
What do you think about Rio Ferdinand?
What do I think about it? Look, he's 38 years of age. He's taken up boxing. We all know that it's you know, what a tough sport boxing is, and he's a tough guy. You know, he's been at the pinnacle of his sport, which he's retired from. It's very difficult for someone to take up boxing at the age of 38. What I find good about it and good about boxing is the fact that here's a guy, a bit like Tyson, if you're in a different way, you know, had some issues he had to deal with over the unfortunate death of his wife, and he found that boxing, going into a gymnasium, helped him. You know, it done something for him mentally, and helped him to deal with his grief. Same way as Prince Edward, not Prince Edward, let's get him right in it, Prince Harry, and it had the same thing. He said, death of his mother, Princess Di, he said the same thing happened with him. He went into there and took up boxing, or was boxing training, and it helped him. So boxing does do some good. It does some fantastic things for people, you know, keeping them fit, keeping them aware of their bodies. And I'm not talking about professional boxing, I'm not even talking about amateur boxing, I'm talking about going into those gyms and also meeting people from different ethnic backgrounds, showing respect to people, respecting their bodies, their weight. We're in a terrible age of obesity, and the cost of that to the national health and so forth, boozing, diet, the whole thing. It becomes a real fantastic opportunity and way for some people to deal with various issues or problems they have in their life. Rio, now having been in there, obviously fancies that he wants to have a go at being a fighter, and you know, the initial reaction, everybody laughs at it, don't they? Because we're cynical bastards, and that's what we do. Well, who's he kidding? You know, it's a joke and whatever. The bike rider, what's the name? The girl who took up the national hunt racing. I feel terrible today with these names. Who are you? And no, she everybody's thought that was really dangerous for her, what she was going to do, and she was brilliant. She went up winning a race, and now she's got a career in horse racing and commentating on TV. Can Rio do the same in the toughest sport of all? I've got to be cynical and say I doubt it, But I'd much rather if he does do it, that he actually does it by taking a licence out. If the border control feel that he's capable, they'll give him a licence rather than he was to do it white collar. Where at least under the border control's auspices that he's going to be medically, he's going to have proper medical safeguards in place, proper medical safeguards at the ringside, tests going into it. If he gets that fight, he may not get that fight, he may at the end of it think after some sparring, I don't fancy this when it gets down to the nitty gritty. Who knows? But whatever happens, if at the moment it's for him, is giving him some sort of direction, good luck to him. Good luck to him. You know, but you've got to sit back and say, you know, I can't see him winning the world title and I can't see him winning the British title, but I've never seen him box. But somebody at the age of 38 taking up boxing, it's tough, very tough.
Do you think you'll still be promoting when you're Bob Arum's age? If you're not Bob Arum's age,
I'm only a year off.
Do you think you're still promoting it? Seriously?
I look terrible, right?
Do you want to be promoting when you're like...
I don't know what I want to do. Who knows what I want to do? I'm not, you know, listen, you know, 65's the new 30, isn't it? You know, I've got to tell you something. I've got bundles of energy. I love it. I love being at ringside. I get involved in my fighters. I've always been competitive. I've always liked the challenge. There are times you turn around and think yourself, oh, I could do without this. You know, there's so many arseholes in the sport and whatever. But there's some good people in the sport, and there's some fantastic fighters that you work with, and there's some people whose word is good and they're genuine and nice people, and you like working with them. At the moment, I've got all the enthusiasm in the world. I mean, I must have. I signed a long-term deal with BT, and I think I would have signed a long-term deal if I was about to pack it in. So yeah, I'm there, and as I say, you know, Bob's my hero. He is. I think he's fantastic what he does. I mean, to be doing what he does at his age. I mean,
how old's Don King?
They're the same age.
Same age.
Yeah, they're the same age. And you know, Don's still dabbles in it, but Bob's like full on. You know, and look what he's done. I mean, it's a very innovative deal that he's done with ESPN.
Sorry, Frank, just pick that back up. You was just talking about Don King, yeah.
Yeah, Don's still. I think he's involved in a couple of fighters in the States. He's got heavyweight and. You know, he's still there, but Bob seems to, be more. He's promoting more shows. Obviously, he's out there doing it, and he's and I don't know how he gets around the world that he does. I mean, you think about, he was in Australia for the Horn fight, then he's back from that. He's off to Vegas, then he's in New York. He's got some stamina.
I see a picture of you the other day in your 20s.
Really?
Let me show it. Yeah, you look exactly the same. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Let me...
Bastard.
I see a picture of you in a suit. I can't remember who you was with. You was at a dinner show or something. You had a black tie on and everything. I don't know, you might have just dressed like that on a Friday night when you was in your 20s.
No, I did every Friday night down the pub. I used to always stand out in that dinner suit, yeah. Just before I went for a bit of pie mash.
Gee. All right, well, like I said, nothing else to add? Just
no, mate, I'm just onwards and upwards, keep working on these fights, and I'm looking forward to hopefully get this 9th of December over the line in the next few days, and it'll be a good end to the year, I think, which has been a great year for us, entertaining year, and I'm really looking forward to next year with these youngsters. I'm really looking forward to them. I want to see with the big fights, but with the youngsters coming through. I mean, they are some good quality guys. Really excellent quality.
Dubois and said you asked to pick of them for you.
There's a load of them. There's loads of them. We're doing an end of year thing. We go through the whole list. It's a long list. We've got about 12 guys who, I'll be honest with you, I think I've got the best young talent. When I look at all the weight division, I think it's the best for 20 odd years, and I've been involved with some good fighters over the years. But for the amount of them and how good they are, and what the potential is with them, I really do think so. I'm looking forward next week to the Gary Cornish and Sexton fight. I'm looking forward. You know what I'm looking forward to? Because our man, Daniel. DD. Triple D.
That's this Friday in Edinburgh.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to
that.
I'm looking forward to that because I think that it's going to be quite... And also for, you think, Nathan Gorman. All those there's some really good fights to be.
See that Gorman Dubois saga?
Yeah, well, you think of that
yeah.
next year. You know, maybe next in a year's time. What's that? That can be a great fight. It will be a great fight. So I'm looking forward to that.
You celebrated your 6 years BoxNation, and MTK, formerly MGM, celebrated 5 years recently,
Really?
and their stable's growing as well.
Yeah, they've done extremely well. I mean, they've done very well, and more power to them. They've done fantastic. They're going from strength to strength, and they're putting shows on as well.
Yeah, we're live streaming our first show this week as well.
Oh yeah.
This Saturday, the MTK show from Brentwood. We're live streaming on.
Oh, you're doing it.
We're doing it. Yeah.
Oh, I hope
our
that
first
goes well.
one.
That'd be great. I hope that goes.
Have a look at numbers. It's not. By the way, it's not pay-per-view. It's free.
But that's the point I'm making. You know, you want the exposure. I mean, you can't.
No, but it's just we're doing it as a test for us to see how it goes. And,
yeah.
but we want to start live streaming shows off ours because there's.
Fingers crossed, it's a success. I'm sure it will be.
Certainly hope so. Frank Warren, thank you very much for talking to iField TV, and we shall catch up with you soon. There's so much coming up, and sick of the sight of each other soon.
We mean soon.
Soon.
I'm sick
That'd
of
be
it.
very nice. Why have you got a basketball in here anyway?
Why?
Yeah.
Well, I did have a hoop up there, but went in there so many times.
Who signed that?
Who do you think signed it? Who's the best basketball player you've ever
Michael
heard?
Jordan.
Well, there you go.
Is that signed by Michael Jordan?
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Do you want it? He used to come in here and change the light bulbs for me.